think the main differentiator of success and not success in human performance is being able to adapt. Most of the time, coaches get data from their eyes before we had all this technology. And the whole point of that is to gather data to drive decisions about what to do with the athlete. There's a bandwidth of technique that you can perform in that makes you the most adaptable to the most situations. And that's why those people perform.
Welcome to Brandventures, and get ready for an exciting adventure into the world of brand innovation on the Brandventures podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the Brandventures, the show that's going to take you into the world of adventurous brands. I'm your host, Gustavo. And today, we brought to the studio Dr. Jo Shattuck. She is a neuroscientist and a former elite athlete and founder CEO of Panther Tec. Welcome to the Brandventures, Jo.
Gustavo, thanks so much for having me. I am so excited. As you know, I can talk for hours about these things, so I'll try and shut up a little bit as we go through this.
Absolutely. No, I love it. I love your background. I know where you're coming from. Tell me a little bit about your racquetball experience.
Sure. So I started racquetball young, but not as young as some of the others. So I started at 17. So it's kind of old in the terms of being a pro. And I didn't have the skills developed. I didn't have the coaching that the other people had. And I had to really accelerate how I learned my stroke, my technique, my mechanics in order to make a living on the tour. And that's essentially where this came from.
So tell us a little bit more about the cat. What is it exactly?
Sure. So the problem that it solves, it's universal. Essentially, it's, if you know this too, it's coach, I am doing that. Or you're watching yourself from the time you played before and you're looking at yourself at video and you're like, I don't do that. And then you look, you're like, oh yeah, I guess I do that. So there's a disconnect between what you think you're doing and what you're actually doing. And what the cat does, which is a device run by an app, it gives beeps and vibrations through the device based on what you teach it. So if I want to teach it a proper racquetball prep swing, I put it on the body, I press capture, it learns it, and then I'll know exactly if I'm doing that the way I want to do it at that second. So there's no taking video and looking at it later and deciding, oh, I guess on that fourth swing, I made this mistake or whatever. So it's just a way to call it calibrate the brain between what I'm actually doing and what I think I'm doing, and have the athlete feel what they want to feel, what they need to feel in order to recreate that in whatever their sport is.
Okay, that's great. It's like a tracking device, and you set the location of the device, and then it triggers it once you're on that spot. Is that correct?
Exactly, right. And so if you've taken any lessons or if you coached before, we use words and verbal cues and metaphors to say, okay, Gustavo, hold your arm here but not here, or I might move your hips or move your leg. So it's the same way of teaching, of communicating there, but you're adding tactile cues and vibrations to your verbal words that you already use to coach. So then your athlete can better retrieve that sensation of movement, which is important when they want to replicate it and recreate it in competition.
Amazing. And tell me, at what moment did you think, this tech could transform coaching for everyone?
Well, I think it was when the very first device that we had, and I can show you a picture. It's a cardboard thing. It's about this big. And it was one little blinky light, and it measured the distance from one thing to another. And my friend Sarah, we went to the local gym. We paid the $8 to get in the rec center and just kind of tried it. And it worked out great. And at that point, I was like, we might have something here, because it's such a universal problem, right? I thought I was doing this, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me, what kind of hurdles and did you go through to start developing the product? Did you have experience developing products before? What kind of...
I'm laughing because I didn't have any. So I'm thankful to have a few careers. I had a pro racquetball career, then I had a kind of a sports science career, and then movement disorders research, and then finally this founder kind of crash course in manufacturing. But it's really hard to get people to buy into a concept. But once you have an idea and it's something to show, people really get it. So for a few years, I was like, well, how do I make a printed circuit board, and how do I buy a component off a DigiKey, and what's a solder mask? And so the last 5 years has just spent just diving into that, learning because of necessity, not because of that's really what I wanted to do. But now it's an integral part of just running this company is to know everything about everything.
Absolutely. And there isn't really a straight line or a path that you can follow that will guarantee you anything. It just takes a lot of grit. Tell me a little bit about those trials and tribulations. What kind of hurdles did you have to go through to get this product out?
Yeah, well, let's see, a couple things. It was the day before my wedding, and this was 7 years ago, 7 years ago, almost to the day. And I had a second patent that I was applying for the technology, but it was just an idea. And I asked my wife, and I'm like, honey, should I do it? And we have like, $1,000 in the bank. We're getting ready to start our life. And she's like, yeah, you should do it. Press submit, and then forgot about it. And then it was awarded. And then, oh gosh, a lot of things. We were actually having a meeting in here while the landlord came in and was measuring the office to relist the lab because we couldn't afford. We didn't know if we could afford the lease to keep going. And then I mean, you throw up a stick and land on something that should have stopped us, I guess. But it's just there's so many good people involved, and as soon as you explain the problem and like, oh yeah, everybody has that problem, then people get it. Uh, but yeah, it's been quite the journey up and down.
There's usually always like an inflection point in where you everything after uh, this moment changed the game for you guys. Was there a moment for you that changed everything for Panther Tech?
That's an excellent question. I think um, let's see, you caught me off guard with that one. Um, Seeing the first few people who were not friendlies, right? They didn't know me, they didn't know the company, they didn't know anything about racquetball. Put it on, and you get the aha face, like, oh. In fact, we went to a mall in Pennsylvania, in the middle of nowhere, and set up a booth and had people try it out and stuff. And this one gentleman, we were teaching vertical forearm on basketball, and his face was just like, and it was that we call it that aha face now, and that's what you get when you realize there's something that can really help you realize where your body is in time and space. And so I'll just call it a culmination of lots of those, um, interrupted by doubts and problems and challenges and COVID. I opened this lab the same month that COVID started in 2020. So that was fun.
We're gonna talk about starting on the deep end. Started swimming in the deep end.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think? So there's a lot of technologies out there. Wearables is the term that is being used. Uh, what makes the difference between the Panther Tech and let's say what Apple Watch could do? Could you integrate that into a watch or?
Excellent question. That's a great point. So I'll outline a couple of differences between why it's a wearable and why it's not. It is a wearable device in that you wear it, but the difference is it's not just on the wrist. You put it anywhere on the body. For example, if I wanted to fix a lot of hitting and kicking and acceleration sports, you need to keep your head still, or at least be able to control it. And then running is a technique where you don't want to bobble your head because it weighs a lot. It throws off your balance, the kinematic chain. So you can wear it on your head, wear it on your wrist for arm slot, put it on your hair for posture. We put it on the hip for rotation, hip shoulder separation, on the wrist for golf prep. So unlike other devices, which is just worn on the wrist, this is designed to be worn for short periods of time anywhere on the body where you need the attention. And it comes into like, oh, I didn't know I was doing that. Oh, I didn't know I was turning my head. Oh, I didn't know I was lifting my shoulder or whatever the problem is. So that's one of the main differences. The other thing is that it doesn't know anything. It doesn't record data that you're going to look at later. It's a live interactive device that when you practice with it, you put it on, it beeps and vibrates, it teaches you where you are, then you turn it off and go do your sport. It's a neural priming is what it is. And there's a lot more information on the website about the science behind it and stuff. So it's kind of, you wear it, but it's not really wearable. And it does collect data, but it's not a tracker. And so that's been kind of a challenge to how do we educate our consumers about what it is and what it isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me a couple of success stories. What have you seen that has created the most impact?
Ah, sure. Okay. Um, So let's see. I'll just say a couple exciting things. We've been reached by some Major League Baseball teams, some Major League Hockey teams, a couple of sport institutions in Australia, and during the playoffs, one of the Major League Basketball teams asked us to overnight them a cat because one of their players had an issue, a mechanical issue that, and it's not like a weeks and weeks of program. It's an instant, 3 minutes. Oh, I get it now. Okay, now I'm feeling what I want to feel, and you recreate that. So that was kind of a feather in the cap there. Like, yeah, we can overnight you one. We got you.
And so you see applications: baseball, basketball, volleyball. What about track and field?
Track and field, yep, for pole vaulting, for throwing sports. We've tried it in almost everything. We're a new business, so the traction is going to be right away in baseball and softball and basketball. And believe it or not, barrel racing are our top three. Yeah, I know, right? Because there's a certain way you have to hold your hands. And a shout out to Stall High for being our one of our first and most loyal customers. They've got the most traction with CAT right now in their online students.
Wow, that's interesting. It would sound surprising. I can't imagine this sport. How does?
It's crazy, right? So the old days, you used to sort of manhandle your horse and make it go around the barrels, right? Nowadays, they call it riding in attunement. Kendra Dixon knows what she's talking about. And instead of pulling on the horse, you sit, you move with the horse, and you want to keep your hands in the reins out in front, not here and not here. And it's hard to do that because with your hands out here, you've got to engage your core more. So they sit on a saddle on their, like not on the horse yet, but they sit on a saddle and they practice visualizing their runs. And when the thing beeps, that means, oh, they went back to the old way. So they start over and do that sort of thing. It's really fascinating. We just now added a hip one too, which controls the pelvic tilt in the saddle. So yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
Can the horse wear it? Do you think they adapt?
Actually, yes. And initially, for the research for some of this, we have the horse wore one on his pole, which is his forehead, his back ankle, and then the rider wore one on her foot. And so we did some data collection of how the horse behaves differently when the rider moves differently, and that kind of guided the training that they do. So yeah, in real time, in real rodeos too. It was pretty cool.
Okay, so you could say it's a coach enhancer as well because it's helps the coaches and it helps the athlete.
Yes.
And the coach would have to interpret the data and actually uh, program this device, correct?
Important. I'm glad you brought that up because as a feedback device, as a tool, it doesn't need to collect any data. It responds in real time, but also it does collect data, just like a couple of the other sensors, motion capture. But it does it in the sense of what is it doing this second right now as my athlete makes this change? What happens here? And so it's not like a weeks and weeks and weeks of sleep data that you look at later and gives you a score. It's very much in the moment. Let's fix this right now, kind of thing.
How do you see the future of sports with wearables and devices like yours? Do you have a vision of the future of sports?
I do. I do. So, data collection is really important, right? It's just information. Most of the time, coaches get data from their eyes before we had all this technology. From their eyes, their instinct, the athlete's posture, even, looking at where they're looking. And the whole point of that is to gather data to drive decisions about what to do with the athlete. Do I pressure them? Do I pull back? Do I work them more? Do I fix this issue? Do I wait till after the season? What do we do? A lot of it is geared towards injury prevention. Now, data is great. You can probably have too much data, but that's not our concern because we live in the space between after all the data is collected. What do you want your athlete to feel and not feel? Or what do you want them to know the difference in? Do you want them to increase their stride length, decrease their stride length, speed up their hip shoulder acceleration, or slow it down, or just know where their head is, or know that when it's the fourth quarter, they tend to drop their elbow on their or don't have the scapular retraction on their foot. So all these mechanics that break down over time, we live in this space when it's time to fix them. And by fix them, I just mean develop awareness and control of that body part in that time. So in general, I think data will continue to get more and maybe more robust and more granular. But I think there's diminishing returns where if you have a point two of a degree, that doesn't help you unless the athlete can control that and become aware of it. So finer, more granular data is not necessarily better, but better is the way that you, because at the end, the athlete's going to have to move differently or move this. You may change or maintain a movement pattern. That's it. There are only two things, right?
Yeah, and I think it's gonna break people's minds a little bit. For you always have these athletes that are unique. For example, where you think the perfect position could be this, but then the athlete does something different that they're capable of doing that nobody else can, and it totally blows your mind. Have you had any instances like that or any?
Yeah, actually, and then so to further that, a few years later, all the other athletes are now doing what that athlete did.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, that's how sports skills evolve. If you look at NBA basketball from 25 years ago, they're literally standing straight up, and there's not a lot of dynamic movement. If you watch, it's kind of funny, like the Larry Bird era, right? If you go back and watch now, there's all kinds of dynamic things out of the ball. Anyway, it's fascinating. But I think the main differentiator of success and not success in human performance is being able to adapt. And there's plenty of really, really good athletes with really crappy mechanics. And by crappy mechanics, I mean not using gravity and physics and their body in the best way that it could. And that's not an opinion, that's math. It's not magic, it's math, right? Um, a lever spinning around a circle, right, has a certain force equals mass upon velocity. And if they're shorter, it doesn't have the same. But there's a bandwidth of technique that you can perform in that makes you the most adaptable to the most situations, and that's why those people perform. That's partly the reason for the cat is it doesn't just teach, I want to teach you how to swing this tennis racket and you only ever do it this way ever your whole life. Like, no, we're teaching awareness and control so that your athlete can adapt in a really, really wide range of motor behaviors. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. I love to take a look at, and perhaps see this cat in action sometime.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you tell us what the next thing for the cat is? Where can you find it? Is it available? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure, sure, it is. I'll do the first part first. Is that in addition to sport, there's a big rehab demand for it because unlike sport and other skills where it almost doesn't matter how you get the ball in the basket if you get it in, but for rehab, right? For rehab, the point is to learn to re maintain those functional movements that you lost when you got injured, right? So it's really important how you walk or how you lift or how you bend, and the body has a protective mechanism that says, hey, that hurts, I don't want to do that. And so it's kind of like counterintuitive physical therapy. So when the rehab movement needs to be really precise to uh, get the faulty part to be able to perform again, you have to do it right. That's what a limp is. A limp is just bypassing something that might hurt, right?
Yeah, yeah, because your brain knows that it hurts.
Yes, right. And so sometimes the body is healed already, but the brain doesn't know that it's better. The brain doesn't realize that it's healed and I can perform properly. So rehabilitative movements are really important to do properly. That's another thing that's next for the cat. We've already have some case studies happening in a clinical neuro-rehab center. We're doing some gait training, we're doing some cervical stabilization stuff. So that's kind of exciting. That's separate than the sports stuff, but
It has a really wide potential.
right, right. Military, vocational, firemen, lifting a box at a warehouse. So again, it's teaching people to awareness and control, not just there's one way to do, and then fill in the blank of swing a golf club or hit a volleyball, whatever.
So this is all the time that we have right now. I love for everybody to drop a comment and reach out to Dr. Joe Shattuck. She is amazing with this stuff and she has so much more information that we'll love to share with you guys. So please reach out to her. Add Panther Tec.
.net. Yes, it's available now. You can buy them now. Panthertec.net. Yep.
Exactly, and you can visit her Instagram page, right? Do you have a handle that you like to?
At Panther Tec Cat, and maybe we'll put it on the screen. But it's Panther Tec, Panther TEC, Cat KAT. We'll put it up.
Excellent. So with that, I'll leave you guys. Please drop a comment. Reach out to Dr. Joe. She is an amazing scientist and a sports lady, and we want you guys to ask her all the questions you got and support her journey. So this is all the time we got right now. Thank you, Dr. Joe, and have a good night, guys.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time. Appreciate it.
GP5, production for adventurous brands.